Okay, so if you've heard anything about Labour's 2025 budget already, you've probably heard things like tax rises, price hikes, cost of living squeezes, but the details are quite complex for many of us, and many of us don't really know if and how we will be affected. Well, the answer is all of you, whether you are working on a low wage, a high wage, whether you're a renter, whether you're a parent, a driver, or just someone trying to save. This budget touches everybody. And as a former lawyer, it's my job on this channel to break down and simplify the tax and the legal systems that you live in. So all I'll need in this one is about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to show you exactly what's changing now, who benefits, who loses out, and most importantly, what the hidden impact of these changes actually are, and what you're going to need to start doing right now to protect yourselves and your wallet. There's no spin here, there is no bias, and with as little jargon as I can manage, this is important. If you live and work in this country, this is important to you, so pay attention. Let's not waste anyone's time and let's get straight into it. All right, why does this budget matter so much? So it would be very prudent for me to explain now quickly why this budget matters so much. So the reality that we knew and that we could see was that the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility Projection, so that the government needed to raise billions of pounds to plug what they call a funding gap, essentially, while still funding the NHS and public services, welfare, etc. So money clearly needed to be raised, and we knew that. Now, this 2025 budget that was delivered by Rachel Reeves on Wednesday was a mixed bag. On the one hand, we have higher taxes, new levies, freezes on thresholds, designed to fill that gap. On the other hand, you have proposed help for some households, pay rises, benefit reforms, and efforts to ease everyday costs. And I think it would be best for me first to go through that good news with you first, so you can see how Labour are planning to help you. All right, so these are the changes that on paper should make life easier for many people if you know about them in advance and take advantage, which I hope you will after this video. Now, the first of those is the wage boost for workers. So from April 2026, not long away, the national minimum wage will rise to £12.71 for over 21-year-olds. This is a real and necessary boost for millions of working people. I do think this is necessary. Some people argue that employers will face higher wage bills now, which could lead to fewer job offers. Again, I will remain unbiased and let you make up your own mind about that, but a welcome change for many. The second is more support for families with children. So the long criticised two-child benefit cap, which you've probably heard of, has now been scrapped, meaning larger families or those with more than two children should see increased benefits under universal credit. So families with more than two children now will get full universal credit and child benefit. Make of that what you will. Some people will argue that the whole reason behind the two-child limit was precisely to make having more children less financially attractive if you rely on welfare. Some people, of course, will love this, and some people will see this as an abuse of the welfare system, with families of four now being able to earn nearly £30,000 a year purely on benefits without having to work. That being said, many working families who do deserve the support will get what they need. Third one, very attractive cost of living relief. Energy bills are expected to be cut by roughly £150 on average each year. That's a massive bonus. Rail fares and prescriptions will be frozen for a year, which probably be a relief for a lot of commuters, parents, pensioners, etc., students, whoever usually take advantage of those things. Oh, and now, of course, you've got the freeze on fuel duty, which has been held now, which is a temporary win for drivers and households that rely a lot on cars for travel, which, like me, is a relief to see. So to sum up those benefits, if you earn below a certain threshold, if you have kids, if you rely on energy or public services, parts of this budget can and will help lessen the pinch of those costs for sure. Those are real positives, which I guess you can take from this. Right then, okay, now let's move on to what's changing, what the real concerns are, what the hidden impact of them are, and how it's really going to affect you in pounds and pence. Where is it going to hurt you? This is probably the bit that most people are interested in, so let's just get straight into it. Right, so firstly, after this new budget, we have an income tax and national insurance freeze. This is probably the first one that you've heard of, and this is essentially a shadow tax, guys, and I'll explain why. So essentially, for those who don't know, the thresholds at which you move into paying tax, including the personal allowance at £12,500, and the basic and higher rate bands, which I won't explain, but I'll assume you know, are now frozen until 2031, 5-year freeze. Now, what does that mean? As you get a pay rise, hopefully in the next 5 years, you will now have more taxable income because the rate has changed, but your threshold hasn't. That is called a fiscal drag. So what will this mean for you in practice? Well, even if your wages go up, your real take-home earnings, guys, will stay flat or even fall once tax and cost of living pressures are accounted for. Essentially, this is a disguised tax. Now, the second one then, and this is a real killer, is higher tax on savings, dividends, investments, and just general passive income. So the budget raises tax rate on dividends, savings interest, and other non-wage income by 2 percentage points. So higher tax on non-wage income. Now, who will this hit most? Number one, savers. Many of us put money into savings. Retirees who rely only on interest income and not pensions. Investors who earn dividend earning investments. Landlords, very important, landlords who receive letting income, they will be affected. And pensioners with drawdown funds. That right there is a huge amount of people, isn't it, demographically? The majority of people, I imagine, have some form of non-wage income from investments or rental property or just savings, ISAs, etc. So if you are someone with cash in savings or in ISAs or interest earning accounts, this is my warning to you. This budget is hiking the tax on your savings, interest and dividends, and your passive income is now worth less. So for those of you listening with those types of investments, those cash investments, you may want to reconsider now whether the cash savings still makes sense or whether you need to think about other options like safe investments, inflation-proof accounts, or perhaps carefully structured pensions. So what I would suggest is to speak to a financial advisor if you have a lot of money in cash investments. Retirees is another one. If you are a retiree relying on savings or investment income, that could mean less disposable income each month. Next one, of course, you've probably heard this, is your pension and salary sacrifice changes. Now, the third major change here that I want to talk about is related to your pensions and the salary sacrifice rules. So this budget now imposes tougher, tighter limits on salary sacrifice pension schemes. Essentially, for higher earners, the benefits of the old scheme will now be capped. There will be a cap on it. What that basically means then is if you earn a high wage and you rely on salary sacrifice to reduce tax and national insurance, which many, many people do, your take-home pay will now shrink because the government will treat part of those salary sacrifice contributions as taxable now. Basically, from 2029, only the first £2,000 of your salary sacrifice pension contributions will be exempt from national insurance. Essentially, they will be putting a cap on how much you can contribute tax-free. Just like with the freezers I mentioned earlier, this is another way that the government can make more of your income taxable. They are doing this in a way that they don't have to label this as new taxes, but they're doing it in a way in which they can make more of your income taxable so that they can keep to their manifesto pledge of not raising any taxes. Now, they say that this is a tax on the wealthy, but I think that they're defining the high income earners as 60 to 70k a year earners, which it just isn't. They're just not top earners anymore. Middle class and many mid-level earners will earn that much money and will feel this squeeze, not just the top earners. So the hidden impact is that this isn't really a tax on the wealthy. It's a tax on the middle, the people doing everything right, contributing to their pensions, saving for the future and taking burden off the state, and capping this national insurance free salary sacrifice at £2,000. Basically, it just means that anyone earning around 60k plus loses a major legal tax saving tool. So you might have to start rethinking your pension strategy, and I'll talk to you about what you can do at the end. But now we're going to look at the new wealth and property taxes. The mansion tax, essentially, you may have already heard of this, and it's one of the headline grabs in the new budget. So people with homes over £2 million will now face a new annual council tax surcharge from 2028. What does this mean then? So if you own a high value home in London or other expensive areas, your yearly property tax bills could go up significantly, even before considering the rising interest rates and mortgage pressures, etc. This surcharge could add thousands of pounds per year in outgoings, or for some people, force them to reconsider property ownership altogether. Here's the hidden impact of this tax, is that it will not just hit wealthy bankers in Chelsea. It will hit completely ordinary families in London and South East, where home prices have risen purely because of the market. So you don't need to be cash rich, essentially, to own a £2 million house anymore. You just need to have lived in London for the last 20 years and watched your property price value increase. This tax essentially targets asset rich but cash poor households, not just the super wealthy that it claims to. Now, let's be fair, for many of us or for many renters or first time buyers, this probably won't apply to you, but it is definitely a warning for asset rich and cash poor homeowners. Now, as I said, for most people this doesn't matter, but it sends a clear signal that the government is trying to target wealth and property for some fresh revenue. Now, the next change then relates to landlords. So for landlords, we now have new landlord taxes. So rather than introducing national insurance on income for rental property, which would have mean a new tax which the Chancellor was trying to avoid, the Chancellor will instead sneakily raise taxes payable by landlords instead. So essentially, here's what that is. From 2027, tax on rental income across England, Wales, Northern Ireland will be charged at the basic rate at 22%, and the higher and additional rate property tax bands will be charged at 42 and 47% respectively. At the moment, if you didn't know, current rates are 2% less than that at all bands. So this is a 2 percentage point increase. Now, what's the hidden impact of this? Well, look, increasing tax rates for landlords with rental income basically pushes landlords to increase their rent, to sell off properties, or to exit certain cities entirely. Now, that reduces supply, pushes up prices for renters, and makes renting even less affordable for young people. So again, there is a hidden impact there. Next, we have some big changes to transport costs. Now, while I said that there is now a freeze on fuel duty for now, which is a welcome sight for many commuters, the budget now introduces a new mileage-based tax for electric and hybrid vehicles starting not for a few years, around 2028. So if you're planning to buy an electric vehicle, this will affect you. Now, what it essentially means is that if you drive an electric vehicle or hybrid and depend on it for work or for commuting, then your running costs will likely rise. It effectively shifts the costs away from fuel consumption and more towards road use. So under the new tax, every mile will count. So your operating costs rise per mile driven. For example, a commuter driving 10,000 miles a year, that could mean hundreds of pounds extra each year before inflation and parking and insurance and energy costs and that kind of stuff. So the hidden impact here is that the government is trying to prepare for a future where fuel duty is gone and they need to replace that revenue. So they're introducing these mileage taxes. It's not just about fairness, it's about surveillance and about revenue recovery. And take a look at this video of mine if you are potentially buying an electric vehicle, where I talk about the shocking new road taxes for EV drivers this year. That's useful information, go and check that out. Now, the final budget impact I want to talk to you about is taxes of leisure and lifestyle. Now, very quickly then, the budget raises duties on tobacco, vaping products, online gambling, sugar-rich drinks. Who will it affect? Well, obviously this will affect people who smoke, who vape, who gamble, who enjoy takeaway coffee, sugary drinks often lower and middle income households. And what does this mean in pounds and pence? Well, if you regularly buy a pack of cigarettes, for example, this price hike could increase your annual costs by £200 to £300 or more. Or people that have severe sugary drink addictions, that extra levy will add up over the months. So essentially daily habits will become noticeably more expensive for people. Many people argue this will help to reduce harmful habits and lifestyle addictions, but essentially it is a sin tax. Okay guys, that sums up the most pertinent changes coming in this new Labour budget. Well done for listening and for learning something useful. I commend you for that. Now that allows me to very quickly summarise this for you and answer the big question, which you're probably waiting for, on what does this budget mean for you? Well, look, in all honesty, what you will feel in your wallet depends a lot on who you are. So if you are on benefits or on a low income, then you'll feel the most direct support, but it won't be overnight. If you are working full-time or part-time, then the national living wage increase means more take-home pay for you, especially for those on lower incomes. But remember, you might end up paying more tax than expected overall as you move into those higher tax bands with a tax-free threshold that stays the same. If you are a parent, then remember you've got better access to universal credit. That can make a real difference in your wallet, but again, won't be an overnight fix. If you are an investor or saver with cash investments or have money in ISAs, for example, or passive income, then this may make you consider alternative investment strategies. If you're trying to buy your first home, then rising interest rates and house prices may still be a barrier to you. And remember, if you want to be a landlord, then higher taxes for landlords on their rental income too will also put a lot of people off. If you're a consumer of regular lifestyle habits like smoking, gambling, sugary drinks, then you will face increased taxes on these lifestyle consumptions. These habits will cost you more money. If you're a business owner or self-employed, then, well, the picture is pretty mixed. You'll still benefit from the business rate freezes, and support schemes could help ease that short-term pressure. If you are older and nearing retirement, remember then these higher taxes on investment and savings income will make passive income harder to rely on for you. So for retirees with no pensions, that's a serious concern. And then of course, if you're an electric vehicle driver, your future savings that you are hoping for, these mileage-based taxes now may cancel out those expected electric vehicle savings that you were hoping for. And that's it. Okay, I think I've covered most of the demographic which I think will be affected. If you are a saver or investor, consider speaking to a financial advisor. Look again at your pension planning, diversify your risk. Remember, cash savings are now less attractive. Those in large families, take advantage of the extra benefit you'll be getting from that removed cap. Cut back on non-essential products. Tobacco, vaping, gambling, sugary drinks, all now far more expensive. Might be a good excuse to start cutting those out entirely. If you plan now, you can protect yourself, guys. But if you leave it to chance, this budget will catch many people off guard. That's my advice. I hope this video has gone some way to try and explain that to you and to help people. But most of all, guys, I really want to hear from you on this topic. I want to know what you think about these new budget proposals. What worries you the most? Let's get a discussion going down in the comments. And of course, guys, if you've taken anything of value from this video, then maybe subscribe to the channel where I break down and simplify the legal systems of which you are subject to. And I'll see you in the next video.